Welcome back. You're watching TVW's Wisconsin Women. We turn our talk now to that of family law, specifically that of non-traditional families. And here to talk us through that topic is Julianne Brock. She's a family law attorney with Murphy Desmond. That's a firm in downtown Madison. Thanks for joining me today, Julianne.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with non-traditional families in the legal sense. And I'm wondering what constitutes non-traditional in Wisconsin family law?
When we use the word non-traditional, we're thinking more of the viewpoint from old case law. Otherwise, the term is becoming a bit obsolete in everyday life. What was once non-traditional is now very common, but it would include unmarried couples with children together, relatives raising a family member's child, step-parent adoption, blended families via second, third, and so on marriages, and in some circumstances, parenthood via surrogacy. Basically non-nuclear families from a very traditional sense, but again, in family law and in society, these former non-traditional families are becoming the norm.
And what kinds of legal situations do you see in non-traditional, or I think you used also the word non-nuclear families?
A wide range of legal issues can occur. For unmarried couples with children, it could be the question of, are you going to establish paternity right after the child is born? Or are you going to wait to see what happens if you were to break up? Additionally, if you own property or other assets with someone and you aren't married, then having an agreement at the outset, or potentially seeing if you're able to come to an agreement, or having to go to court later on if you were to break up. For grandparents and other relatives raising a family member's child, if it's for a short amount of time, then ensuring they have the paperwork that is necessary for them to function as a day-to-day custodian, such as a power of attorney. If it's for a longer amount of time, then ensuring there's that guardianship paperwork through the court system. For step-parent adoptions, facilitating one parent voluntarily terminating their rights and helping the step-parent go through the adoption process. For surrogacy, you have the initial contract, and then later on establishing legal parenthood for the child. And an emerging issue has been frozen embryos. Maybe you did family planning early on, and now you're going through a divorce process. The question is, what's going to happen to those frozen embryos? So all of these situations do have legal implications that should be dealt with, ideally before any conflicts arise, for the sake of your time and your money.
You mentioned grandparents, so I'm wondering about grandparents and third-party rights. What kind of rights do they have?
So that does vary on the situation. It's very fact-specific, especially depending on the parents' opinions as to the third party's involvement. It is an uphill battle where the court is concerned because they don't want to impede on any parental rights. It does happen. Some common scenarios would include the parents of the minor are deceased or incarcerated, or they might have addiction or child abuse issues. Of course, parents can voluntarily agree to guardianship or to just doing some type of visitation schedule. Each situation is unique and can be complex, so having counsel at the outset to know what options are available and what the potential outcomes are is very helpful.
There are so many unique situations. Let's talk about step-parents and what kind of legal situations are you seeing with them?
A common situation that we see is that one biological parent is willing to terminate their rights. So that would go through the court system, terminating their rights, that allows then the step-parent to legally step into the role of a parent. And an important implication of that is that when this occurs, the rights that flow to the family member of that biological parent who's terminating their rights are also terminated. So it's definitely a conversation to have with family.
Wow, lots of good information here, and as we said earlier, a lot of unique situations. Can you wrap up by telling us how a lawyer can help, especially at Murphy Desmond?
A lawyer can definitely help you understand case law as it applies to your situation. The court system can also be a bit foreign if you haven't gone through it before, especially if you're going to different counties. They're very different. So helping navigate that process, and of course, drafting and reviewing agreements like prenuptial, postnuptial, property agreements for unmarried couples owning a home together, guardianship, and so on. Murphy Desmond does this often, and we would be happy to help.
That's Julianne Brock. She's a family law attorney with Murphy Desmond, and they're in downtown Madison. We're Wisconsin Women, and we'll be right back.